I'm on a mission to see every animal species in South Carolina, and so far we've found 16. And today we're back at Conestee Nature Preserve to go and hunt down that hummingbird that we missed last episode, so let's get to it. Early in the morning, the first animal that I came across is this Carolina wren, but he didn't stick around too long. And shortly afterwards, I came across my mom's favorite bird in the world, the northern cardinal, a species that we've already seen before, but I just gotta show it off every single time. Just such an amazing, incredible species. But of course, somebody had to not be too happy to see me. There was this eastern gray squirrel that was just yapping at me from tree to tree to tree. Just listen to this dude.
Somebody's all pissy this morning.
I thought that this might be a new species of bird, but after looking at the footage, I believe it's just an eastern phoebe, one of which we've seen already. But pay close attention to what's going on in the background. What do you think this is? Now, my best guess is that this is just some sort of turtle breaching early in the morning, or maybe two turtles getting their freak on, but let me know what you think in the comments. And no, I'm not lying, I will show off the northern cardinal every opportunity I get. I love this bird. As I was about to climb up this observation tower, I saw something staring back at me, and it turned out to be a common five-lined skink, one of the most common reptiles that you can find, at least in terms of lizards. Still a pretty awesome find, and I'm glad to add it to the list. And here we come across our second new species of the day, the Canadian goose, or the Canada goose is the proper name, but we'll see these guys much more later this episode. And I didn't realize this until my second visit to Conestee, but somebody told me that a majority of this swamp has been designed by beavers through a series of dams, like you see here. And a lot of these tall dead trees that you see in this wide open area is a perfect perching point for a lot of predatory birds such as ospreys, eagles, hawks, and vultures. So maybe one day in one of our next visits we'll get lucky and catch one on video. And I got pretty lucky and got some half okay footage of some American goldfinches chilling at the top of this tree. Again, need to get a longer lens. And once it gets in focus, you can see that this is an American redstart, yet another new bird species for the list. And this guy would not stand still, and they are super quick, so that he was just bouncing from tree to tree to tree until I could finally get some half decent shots, and then lost him. And Conestee Nature Preserve is home to almost every species of woodpecker found in South Carolina, and this is a downy woodpecker, and you can tell by the red patch on the back of its head. And the woodpeckers truly thrive in this environment with a lot of dead trees and wetlands, so I'm sure we're going to find every species here. And now we have finally found our first bluebird. It has been a sea of cardinals and red, so here it is. And this is the eastern bluebird, so I'm glad to have this vibrant species added to the list. And I'm pretty sure this is the female version of the downy woodpecker that we saw earlier. Let me know in the comments if I'm right on that. And the species that evaded me last episode, the ruby-throated hummingbird, is back at it again, and I will not stop until I find this animal. It flew right in front of me in this footage, but it didn't catch. But trust me, we'll have another encounter later. And here's another common five-lined skink that I came across, and you can really see their bright, vibrant blue tails that they are very famously known for having. But let's get to the meat and potatoes of this episode. I wanted to find the hummingbird so bad. If it was the only thing I found today, that would make my world. So I moved back over to the area where I saw them last time, which is vibrant with a lot of orange flowers and other foliage that these guys would commonly get nectar from. And I had the gut feeling that this was going to take a good 2-3 hours in order for one of these birds to show up, if I was even lucky. But literally as I got there, this appeared. That, my friends, is the ruby-throated hummingbird, the target species of today. I was so happy to finally see one on camera. This one was bouncing around from flower to flower to flower, so it was kind of hard to keep up with until it eventually landed on a branch, which I was very surprised by, and it just chilled there, so I got a bunch of footage of it. And as a plane flew overhead, this guy was spazzing around trying to get a look at it. But the ruby-throated hummingbird is the only species of hummingbird that can be naturally found in South Carolina, so to find this guy so early on is such a treat, and I sat here forever watching him until he flew off. But of course, we go from one of the rarest animals to one of the most common, another squirrel. And after moving on from the spot where we saw the hummingbird, I came across yet another great blue heron. This one seems to be a little bit younger from the one that we saw last episode, but he was in the same exact spot, so I hung around and got some pretty cool footage of him. As I was walking along the bank, I came across these two river cooters that were sitting at the top of the surface, having some sort of interaction with each other. This smaller individual was getting in the face of the larger one and like tapping him with his fingers or doing some sort of like fiddling thing. I don't know what he was doing. I have no clue. It might be some sort of mating thing or a territory thing. I have no clue. But eventually the larger turtle had enough, got up on a log to go bask while the smaller one was too small to get up. but I would do the same exact thing as this larger turtle if somebody came up and kept poking my face. I was able to get the perfect angle for this larger river cooter, so I was able to get some pretty cool shots of them. They're just a very striking species with those bright yellow markings. And this footage really does not give you the idea of how many turtles there really are at this preserve. They're very skittish, but there is dozens here. And around the bend, I came across these same two Canadian geese that we saw earlier in the episode, except they weren't swimming away from me, they were actually coming towards me. Now, typically when I'm being approached by a Canadian goose, I get a little bit sketched out, but these two were not interested in me whatsoever. I gave them plenty of space, but they came super close to me. These guys do have some nasty teeth and they are known for charging people, but at this point in time, I wasn't worried whatsoever. They were so busy preening their feathers and getting all that water out. They were just two birds doing their own thing that had no bother with me whatsoever, so I got some incredible shots of these guys and probably some of the best footage of any animal we've gotten thus far, including the hummingbird. And I'm sure every person has seen Canadian geese, and they're not a very unique animal to see, but up close there's just something so incredibly interesting about these animals that makes me enjoy them so much more. And I just can't get over that this place used to be a dump and is now a paradise for so many animals, including this American bullfrog that I was able to get pretty close to without spooking them, making that our first amphibian that we've seen so far on our journey. Now we only have 65 more amphibian species to find. But across the pond, I saw something tall and white hunting for some fish, and that, my friends, is a great egret. But later I was able to get around to the other side of the pond and get some much better footage of this guy. And next to the great blue heron, the great egret is another species that I enjoy watching as they hunt for small fish and amphibians. And way off in the distance, high in the sky, I saw a vulture doing some circles, and he was slowly making his way towards the ground, so I wanted to rush over there and get some half decent shots of him if I could, but I was scared I was going to miss him. Thankfully, I looked up in the tree and saw this black vulture perched up there looking around for some prey. I was able to get some pretty good shots of them until my legs started catching on fire, and that's when I realized I stepped on a fire ant pit. But the birds could not stay away, because even in the parking lot as I was about to leave, I came across this eastern phoebe, not a new species but still a cool one nonetheless. And then on top of that, we saw a northern mockingbird, a new bird for the channel and for the list. And this guy was hiding in a berry bush, so I'm very surprised that I was able to see him, but I did hear his call, so I knew immediately what it was. And to say that today was a success would be an understatement. We saw a total of 12 new species, which is a record for the channel so far, including some major goal ones such as the ruby-throated hummingbird. So overall, fantastic day. We're definitely going to be coming back to this location. Like, favorite, and subscribe if you want to see more.